Love telling the story because it in my mind, when I tell it, I get to go back and relive a moment where my faith first came alive. And sometimes in your life you can feel like your faith is not thriving.
Hey, this is Nick at Bandkind, and I'm here in a very small piano room with Matthew West.
It is small, yeah.
Welcome.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Matthew West, and you are watching Bandkind. Songwriters think of it this way, like, when I walk into rooms, I don't think, do I like the paint, or if I walk into a house, it's not about, it's more like, I'm always thinking, could I write songs in this place? Like,
Wow.
like walking into this room, I'm like, oh, there's a piano, like, could I write a song in here?
Yes.
Maybe not my favorite, but I could.
You could
know?
write a jingle in this room. This is a jingle room, right?
Exactly. So when I walk into the story house, I'm like, yeah, I could write some songs in here.
I love the story house. It has this vibe to it. Did you decorate that? The
No.
black, the white,
No.
It is
I have no decorating. Like, I can barely dress myself. I'm not even sure if I match tonight. I literally, I have pictures in my phone
Yes?
of me. This is so dumb, but like, they'll hire a stylist who
Okay.
will buy me clothes,
Yes?
which sounds like super bougie, but it's just, it has to be. But then they take pictures of me in the outfits.
Yes.
So then when I'm on tour, I look at my phone and go,
Tonight?
this shirt goes with these pants and these
Perfect.
shoes. So the same goes for my studio. My wife had a lady who has just a great eye for, what looks good.
Yeah.
And so they made it I love it. I love when I walk in there. It's like just a very special place and a lot of creating songs.
Yeah.
Whether I'm writing for myself or for somebody else, I wanted to somehow capture, because that's a very special creative place for me. And so sometimes tonight the audience will just hear me play songs without all the bells and whistles, like just the way that I wrote them sitting on the couch in the story house. So my heart was to bring the experience of what takes place when I'm sitting in my studio.
At an evening at the Story House. Are you guys ready for this?
Perfectly said, and that's what these folks that are coming tonight, they're walking into the story house, and there's a blue couch in the middle of the stage, and talk about the significance of that couch and why it was worth bringing it on the road.
The blue couch is symbolic.
Yeah.
And when I was a 13-year-old kid, I had a profound moment in my faith where I sat on a blue couch that we had in the living room basement area of my childhood home. Yeah. And I asked Jesus into my heart watching a Billy Graham crusade. And so years later, I always love telling the story because in my mind, when I tell it, I get to go back and relive a moment where my faith first came alive. And sometimes in your life you can feel like your faith is not thriving, or and so there's power in going back and remembering when you first felt God knocking at the door of your heart and what that was like. And so I bring the blue couch with me as a way of hopefully creating a meaningful symbol for the audience as well, to maybe be thought-provoking, to say, well, what do I have one of those stories? Like, have I ever had that defining moment where I asked Jesus to be my Lord and Savior? And so, by the end of every evening at the Story House, I turn the question out to the audience and say, okay, what's your story? What's your blue couch story? Have you, have you invited him into your story? You know what I mean? And so that's the reason for the blue couch, and it has great personal significance for me.
It seems like that color translates to your book, The God Who Stays.
Yeah, I talk a lot about it in the new book. Like, it kind of chapter by chapter, you'll hear this refrain of, throughout the writing of the book, I was sort of revisiting just what I believe and why, like kind of almost getting back to the basics of my faith. And it's funny because like the whole world talks a lot about like deconstruction when it comes to faith and stuff, and I don't know anything about that. All I know is like when I came back to the basics of what I believe and why, my belief in Jesus only deepened and strengthened. And a big part of that was kind of coming to grips, and I confess this in the book about like how somewhere along the line the blue couch became like just an exhibit in the museum of my faith, and it's like picturing these velvet ropes around it, and as if it's like, okay, that's a one moment in time thing, and then you go off with your life, and your faith gathers dust just like the blue couch does. And so I think writing the book The God Who Stays was about me kind of coming to realize like God doesn't just pursue me once, like he wants to have an active moment by moment, second by second, breath by breath relationship with me. In other words, not just one blue couch moment, but one after the other. And sometimes I think as Christians we settle for less. We settle for seldom. We settle for occasional, as opposed to like a living, breathing, active, walking with Jesus and talking with Jesus relationship. And what does that look like? And how do we do that? And how do you practice that discipline? And I struggle with that. You know what I mean? I'm just left to my own devices. That's what I do. I go on my own. I live on my own strength and my own sufficiency. So it's really, the blue couch is really about like the realization that it's more than just one moment in time.
I love that. Now, you recently did the foreword for Ann Wilson's book. And we've seen footage of Matthew West and Ann Wilson in the Story House performing songs together, songs that you've written together. And so what was it like coming out of your book and then sort of jumping into Ann Wilson's book?
Yeah, I met Ann when she was just, I think she was 17, or maybe just turned 18.
She confessed that you have loved her through the season of braces and all.
we started writing songs. Like, that's a big part of my life in Nashville, is because I'm older and have written a bunch of songs. There's just an experience gained. So a lot of times I'll get set up with younger artists who are going, I have something to say to the world, not sure yet how to say it, or so it's a really neat thing. In fact, tonight I'll play a song I wrote with Ann, but yeah, so we just became friends, and I was like quickly like, you're just rooting for people. I think that's the neat thing. When you get to partner with them creatively, you're wishing them success, and you're seeing God do something. And specifically in Ann Wilson's case, it's just like there's just something really special taking place. You know what I mean? The way that people are responding to her music, her voice, her story. But then also, like, I have 2 daughters, and so I've always just prayed that the Lord will raise up young female influencers, which there's TikToks filled with them, but the wrong kind of influencers. And I'm like, Lord, like, give my daughters some positive role models to look up to. And Ann's one of those, so it's great. Cool to see like all these little kids showing up to see Ann sing. It's like they might like my music, but everyone has a different like appeal and a different platform and anybody in Christian music wants to be a role model and an influencer for good things, but like Toby Mac's going to influence a different audience than I will, and Ann Wilson will influence a different audience than you know what I mean, Toby Mac will. So it's really cool to be a part of that. And so I wrote the foreword for a powerful book that she got the chance to put out that tells her story of tragedy and losing her brother and just what's transpired from that. So it's really cool.
And that's one reason I think that there's one seat left in this house tonight, and it's going to be full. I think because people want to connect with that authentic experience. And you connected with Lisa Turkhurst for the foreword of your book. She's gone through some stuff that folks understand is genuine and real. And
Lisa's another. I mean, I've had her on my podcast, and she's gone through really tough divorce and really had her heart broken big time, and she walks through that and then has to walk through it in a public spotlight too. So watching people like Lisa allow God to turn their pain into purpose is a really powerful thing. And then even to see a young kid like Ann have that awareness to go, Lord, if you can use even the passing of my brother and my pain and my grief to help other people, then so be it. Like, that's really remarkable. And I think that's hard for us to do, but God has a way of redeeming everything, and he wastes nothing.
Yes.
The question is, are we gonna place those things that we think are wasted into his hands and dare to believe that he can do something special with them? So I love sharing those stories. I love getting up on stage tonight and singing songs, and
yes,
always really sweet
clearly
people.
We're excited to have
really
you back.
Sweet people, yeah.
I was going to say too that we just spoke with Ann Wilson, and I think she sees you like the big brother, that is here, and
that's very sweet.
really, like you said, rooting for her, cheering for her. And so I thank you for, Matthew West has been an award-winning songwriter for so long, 22 years, right?
I'm old. Yeah.
No, that's not what I mean. You got a lot of great songs, not just the ones that you're touring or playing, but the ones that a lot of other people are playing as well. And so we so appreciate you.
Yeah, thank
we appreciate
you. It's
all
good to talk
that
to you
you've
again.
contributed to this incredible industry.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Matthew West.